Hi there. So in our last lesson, what we were working on is we were talking about the circumference. That's the distance around a circle. And now we're going to be talking about the area of a circle, which is going to be the space inside. So the circumference formula was C equals 2 pi r, or pi times the diameter. For the area, our formula is going to be pi times the radius squared. Remember that when we square a number, that means it's the number times itself. It's a number times itself, r times r. And we're still going to multiply that with pi. That's a formula you just have to know. So that's why these are the ones you usually talk about in a lot of your classes. You're kind of moving the position of the 2 around, but everything else stays about the same. When you work this out today, a couple things. You're going to work with pi as being 3.14. Okay, and you're replacing there and do a lot of kind of multiplication and squaring of numbers, okay? And that's just fine. So these all become what we call approximations, like abouts, because we can't get it exact precise because we're just using an estimate for pi whenever you're doing areas and circumference as it is. Okay, so we have this first sample here. Put you in the picture here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Zoom out one stop. There we go. What we can see is that we have a circle with a radius of 5. So our formula is area equals pi times the radius, which is 5, squared. So I'm going to replace the pi with 3.14. 5 squared is 25. And when I multiply 5 times 3.14, I'm going to get about 78.5. Now for labeling though, this is going to be centimeters squared. Okay? So just keep that in mind. I want to keep my units, but I'm squaring them, so that's going to be there. Why is it squared? Well, because remember, it's 5 centimeters times 5 centimeters. So like variables, right? So 5 times 5 is 25. That's centimeters to the first, and centimeters to the first becomes centimeters to the second, because you're going to add the exponents when you multiply them together. So that's how you get centimeters squared. Okay. Now the area for the formula of a semicircle, which is kind of an interesting one, semi is half of a circle, is going to use the same formula, but to put a half in front of it. So whatever your answer is, you're going to multiply it by a half, or divide by 2. So if I ask you to find the area of a semicircle that has a diameter of 9.4, now there's a couple steps I have to do, okay? First of all, my formula for the area of a circle was pi r squared, right? So I'm doing a diameter, which means I'm going to have to look at my diameter. I need to cut that in half to work with it, first of all. So what is half of 9.4? Well, I'm not quite sure what half of 9.4 is, right? So if I do 9.4 and I divide by 2, 2 goes into 9 4 times. We subtract, bring down the 4, and it goes into 7 times. So my radius is 4.7, a little extra step there. Pi is 3.14, we're good there. My radius is now 4.7 squared, but I also want to only do half because I'm doing a diameter, sorry, I'm doing a semicircle, so half of all that. So I can multiply that by half, or I can think of that as being 0.5 when I use my calculator on, however you want to do that. But I have all of that to work with, a lot of things to plug in, and that's kind of what finding areas of things is. It's just getting your formula set up the right way, and then plugging in the right values there. So half, pi, r squared, and getting everything worked out. In doing all that, you end up by approximating to be about 34.7. In this case here, millimeters, because we were talking about millimeters, so that becomes our squared number there. Okay, so that's the idea working with that. Okay, so you will have some questions here. We'll do a couple together real quick with areas of circles and also with semicircles. Okay, so let's set them up and see how you do. So this first one, it's a radius, so that's nice. We would say that the area is equal to pi times the radius squared. Pi is 3.14, 7 squared is 49, and so we would say that 49 times 3.14 equals 153.86. Try to remember my nearest tenth here. This is bigger than 5, so we're going to round up. So I got 153.9 inches squared. For the next one, you have 25 as a diameter. Well, I want to use a radius, so I need to first of all do 25 divided by 2. Well, 25 divided by 2 is going to be 12.5, so that's my radius now. So I do pi times 12.5 squared to work out this one. So it's 3.14 times 12.5 squared, which I have no idea what that is, so I'm going to multiply it on a calculator for now. So I have 3.14 times 156.25. So again, calculators are very handy for these, I totally get it. So oftentimes when we make ones for a test for you guys, we try to make sure the numbers are easy to work with and you don't have long, crazy stuff here. There, I want to get to the nearest tenth, so I'll look here. It's less than 5, which means I'm just going to chop it off. I have 490.6, and we're doing it with millimeters squared. The next one here, we have a radius, which is handy. So we have pi r squared. Pi is 3.14. The radius is 12. We're going to square that. So we have 3.14. 12 squared is 144. So we plug that into the calculator. 3.14 times 144 is equal to 452.16. I can see this number is bigger than 5, so I'm going to round it up. So I do 452.2. So I'm rounding up that guy there. And this is going to be feet squared. I'm not sure why I did all three of them, but I just did. I'll only do one of these ones here. So if I'm doing the diameter of a semicircle, the area of a semicircle, just be careful. In this case here, they gave us the diameter. I got to cut that in half to make the radius equal to 14. Now I can do 1/2 of pi r squared for the semicircle formula. So I have 1/2 times 3.14 times 14 squared, and then we do the computation and get that solved out there. So that's the idea with today's little lesson. We're going to go ahead now and work on the practice problems here. Looks like for area of circles, we wanted you to do the odds, so you do the odds all the way down, which will be just fine. So we'll go ahead and work on that, and then come back and check them out with me in just a few minutes. Alright, here we go, areas of circles. Finding the nearest tenth using 3.14 for pi. So we have a radius, which is awesome. We have pi r squared for this area formula. Pi is going to be 3.14 times the radius 1 squared. So the answer is 3.14 centimeters squared. Not too bad. The next one we get a diameter of 35, so you need to cut that in half. Half of 35 is going to be equal to 17.5. Okay, 17.5. So the formula is area equals 3.14 times 17.5 squared. You have to calculate that with a calculator. 17.5 times 17.5 is going to be 306.25 times 3.14. And we get 961.625. You're going to round to the nearest tenth. That's less than 5, so we're going to chop it off. And we have 961.6 millimeters squared. The next one, we have 4.3 feet in diameter. So then as a radius, that means it's 2.15. So we're going to do pi r squared, 3.14 times 2.15 squared. 2.15 squared is 4.6225 times 3.14. Now we have 14.51 and a lot more. We're going to chop it off there for 14.5 feet squared. Number 7, we have a radius, which is awesome. So we're going to do 3.14 times 4.7 squared. So 4.7 times 4.7, which is going to be 22.09 times 3.14 for 69.36. Looking at the nearest tenth. rounded to 200, we're going to round that up. So this becomes 69.4 yards squared right there. Number 9, we have a diameter. So we want to chop that in half first of all. Okay, so we chop that in half, and that becomes a radius of 1.05. So we'll have pi r squared, 3.14 times 1.05 squared. So we do that real quick. So 3.14 times 1.1025 is 3.461. We're going to round that up. So 3.5 millimeters squared. And that's the idea right there. Okay, I'm going to just set up these other ones here for you. Make sure you set them up right. Radius, we would do 3.14 times 5.7 squared and work that out. Here we have the diameter of 3 1/4. Well, 3 1/4 is like 3.25 basically. So I could do 3.25, divide that by 2, and you have pi times 1.625 as the radius squared. And then finally over here, the last one we do pi times 1.1 squared, and we'd solve that out. So those at least are the equations for how you figure out the area for the last 3. Look at your work and see if you did the area right, or the formula right. If you got that right and maybe something else messed up, maybe it was computation, just take a look. That's it for today. Have a great day. We will see you next time.